Former criminal Shane Cuthbert has announced his candidacy for the seat of Cairns at October's Queensland state election. Cuthbert is coming off a local council campaign, but he's running despite currently being banned from state parliaments. He spoke with 6 News to discuss why he's put his hand up.
I ran a campaign locally that was across those bigger statewide issues such as crime and housing, so I was already very much across that. I think the only thing I'm doing is targeting the voters a little bit differently. Obviously, I can't personally knock on every door in the electorate. It's far too big. It's Division 4, 5 and 7 here in Cairns for the state seat of Cairns. I ran in 4 and I was very, very adamant that I wanted to knock on every door. And I did that in 4. I actually did that twice through the year. And I think that's probably why I did get a lot of those votes, because a lot of people were coming up to me at pre-poll and saying, hey, I'm voting for you simply because you knocked on my door, you showed up. And I think that voters have seen how much effort that I put in. I know that since the local council campaign, I've spent 2 to 3 nights a week in the CBD working with some of our most disadvantaged children. These are criminalised kids that are essentially breaking into homes and stealing cars. These are the youth that are causing some of the most crime in Cairns locally. But I'm getting my hands dirty, so to speak, at the ground level, volunteering my time to go out with them, not just to reduce crime and protect businesses in our CBD, but also to mentor those kids and try to steer them on the right path, because I do have that lived experience history as well.
I read in some local media when you've announced this, is it true you're indefinitely banned from state parliament?
Yes, so last year we had a regional sitting here in Cairns. For some reason, I still haven't got to the bottom of this. The Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, Curtis Pitt, who is also local to Cairns as well, he's just to the south of Cairns, had banned me indefinitely, and I had no reason. It said that I'd exhibited behaviour that would make attending Parliament difficult or something like that. Was very, very vague. This is considering that 2 weeks prior, I had been invited by the, I'm not sure which committee it was, but they were doing an inquiry into support provided to victims of crime. I met with those MPs, I shook their hands, I told my story, I made suggestions of how we could treat victims better. And then obviously post that committee and post the regional sitting, I was invited to speak again to the Youth Justice Reform Committee at the start of this year. So I've engaged with politicians before. It's really, really odd. If I had to take a guess, I would say it's probably because I used to be a Labor member. I was kicked out. There was a bit of a disagreement there, and I took them to the High Court. And I don't think they were very happy about that. In the end, the High Court refused to hear the matter. There was no winners and no losers, but I think, it cost the Labor Party a lot of money. Close to $1 million is the estimate that I was given. And so I don't think they were very happy about that. So I don't know if it's got something to do with that and it was a little bit more personal, or whether there's something going on behind the scenes that I'm not aware of. I took away 16.5% of the vote in Division 4. Now, although I was running in Division 4 specifically last time in the council election, my campaign spread far and wide. I was the only council candidate, at least here in Cairns, that was getting national media attention. I had a current affair. The night before the election, I had Channel 9 News do a story on election night. So I got a lot of attention, but I also ran a campaign, as I said, on statewide issues, a Cairns-wide campaign. So, when I think of maybe do I have that profile across Cairns, I think I certainly do. And, the message that I've been putting out to the, Cairns voters generally is that, yes, I've got a past, I've got a history, I own that. And I think that's what puts me in a really good position to understand crime and offending behaviour. I think this election campaign from at least the ALP and LNP perspective is, the rhetoric is very, very tough on crime. I mean, crime is one of the big issues, and both of the major parties are speaking about that. I think I've got a unique perspective on that, as somebody that's come through that system. As I said, I was invited to speak to the bipartisan Youth Justice Reform Select Committee at the start of the year, unfortunately disbanded, and I'm really disappointed about that, because I really worked really hard on that. I made a submission with a magistrate who actually sentenced me when I was a young person. We've come together full circle, and we worked on this submission where we had, real solutions to this problem. And I think that it was, being an election year, politics got in the way, and unfortunately, neither of the major parties were able to agree, and it got disbanded, and the recommendations were not put out. The LNP certainly didn't agree to those. So it's really disappointing, but I think it places me, again, I'm well placed, I think, in a position where I could actually have, some influence here, where I know what I'm talking about, and it is certainly one of the biggest issues still that I'm speaking, with people locally about.
Are you making a call yet about who you're going to recommend preferences to, or are you holding out on that for now?
I am scheduling a meeting hopefully next week with both Yolandi and Michael, who are the ALP and LNP candidates, and I'd like to sit down with them and have that conversation, and also seek some commitments from them about some things that I want to see changed before I make that decision. So at the moment, I haven't, but those discussions will take place.